Hello and welcome to episode 87 of the Movies in a Podshell podcast. The podcast where we take a theme and we pick two films to fit that theme. And we ain't done none of that this week because we're recording before John goes on holiday to an undisclosed location on an undisclosed date so no one robs his house. Anyway, I've told you who I'm joined by. It's John. Is he in? Who knows? Is he not? Who knows? He might be on holiday. This is releasing afterwards, so he's probably back. What are you going to do? Hey, thieves. Harry and Marv. Hey, hi John. Sorry, I know what that was.
Very appropriate with Home Alone, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Home Alone 2 we're doing, to be precise, because
we've done one.
We have now, and now you've got both of the only Home Alone films that we'll be doing.
There's so many. Yeah. Do you know what? When I went on Disney, do you know how hard it was?
There's only two. There's only two.
No, genuinely. Do you know how hard it is to find just Home Alone 2 on Disney? It put 3 above it, it put 4 above it, it put the new one above it. It was like Home Alone 1, and then it was every other film other than 2.
I
did
saw
not
this.
understand that one.
Yeah, it's the same thing happened to me. I was like, why is Home Alone 1 and 2 behind those two pieces of trash, the other two, which was odd.
I thought for a second it was doing that thing where, you know, when they just lost the rights for one film. You know, when it's like Spider-Man, there was like 2 of them on there and not one. Or the one that made me laugh was, I really randomly got a hankering to watch Terminator 3, which I've not seen since probably 2007, 8, like a long time. I was like, I'll just watch it, can't be that bad. And like, you can't stream it anywhere. And it's this is why we say about physical media. But like, the Blu-ray of it's basically out of print, like, or really hard to get hold of. It was just like ridiculous. So it was just funny on it's on one of the streaming services. You can watch every one, but not that one. It's like they've basically it's like it's erased off the face of the earth. Like it's forgotten about.
I haven't seen that film since 2003 when it came out, and I thought at the time it was quite good, but that's because I was a kid and I don't feel
know
like
what I was doing. The same opinion. Can we just talk about? Sorry, we're doing random stuff at the start. Always classic. I shared with Jamie a really cool thing the other day. I say really cool thing. I think it's a cool thing, which is there's a new Hitchcock Blu-ray set coming out on December 16th, according to Amazon, and it's called Hitchcock: The Beginning, and it's like films from the 30s. So like we've got some silent movies and some talkies later down the line. Actually, are they all just the silent movies? I can't remember, but anyway,
it's from silent to sound. So
okay, cool.
It's like some of the
What's
first
the
ones
year,
are silent.
age range? Like it was.
The age range is a PG, but the year.
Sorry,
no, it's fine.
I'm tired today. Don't do that to me.
I believe it's from 1929.
Oh, God,
1927, and it goes. I say all the way through. It goes all the way through to 1932. But that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 films. Not that we've been sponsored to promote it, by the way.
No, we really haven't. Like,
no.
One, the artwork of it looks really cool. I like the branding they've done for it. And also, the only one I've seen on there is number 17 is potentially one that's been on the YouTube. And the rest of them, I don't think I've seen any of them. I'm quite up for it, to be honest.
It's quite frustrating, actually, the Hitchcock stuff, because didn't he split up all of the... Well, did his daughter... So he left all the films to his daughter, didn't he?
I don't know if he did all of them. I think he split the rights across to ensure she had inheritance for life. So basically, like, there's a few with Universal, there's a few with Paramount, but the problem is when you get these box sets, you never get a complete box set. You always get, like... Well, number one, for the amount of sheer volume of films he did, it's quite hard to get them all in one set. But it would be like buying the James Bond collection. It'd still be more than that. But they're just spread across, and because Hitchcock's still such a prestigious name, like, people will buy the 4K version of a Hitchcock, and like, I'm going to, and for that reason, those rights aren't going anywhere.
They've done a streaming service on us, haven't they? Like, you can't just subscribe to one streaming service and watch all of it. You've got to like subscribe to separate ones to. So
BBC have a lot of the classic Hitchcock, like older stuff, and then Pre's moved to America, and then the stuff when he gets to America is usually the ones you see in the box sets, which is basically like Vertigo and
Psycho, the Birds.
Psycho, and so probably the most mainstream ones. And then the one that's always in its own box set is North by Northwest, because some people consider that his best
I've got the House of Hitchcock box set. So there's about.
But anyway,
I think there's about 15 films in there or something.
Just
Quite annoying,
thought that
really.
was cool. And
it is cool. Yeah, you sent it over. I might. I've not
Yeah.
even watched all of my House of Hitchcock yet, so I still we need to watch Marnie together, really.
Oh, do you know what? That could be a New Year visit when
Could be.
After Christmas when it's a bit like you've got that bit of that lull period. If you've got a day, we could do that.
Do you know what I
Nice.
hate? Do you know what, you just reminded me of something that I can't stand, and that's when people call in between Christmas and New Year crimbo limbo, and I just want to stick
a gun
in my mouth.
I don't agree with that.
No, you didn't. But if
I've never heard of that, and I'm not going to say it. But
if I had access to a gun, I would stick it in my mouth.
Do you know what? Though? I feel like crimbo limbo is the kind of thing I would have said pre-children. I don't think that exists now because my routine will be exactly the same. I'll still have to get up at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like nothing will actually change.
What do you call it? What do you call it now? Just
life.
Yeah. Just. Anyway. I hate my life.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Yeah, sorry. We need to do what we've been watching. Yeah.
I've been watching some stuff. Mate, you'd be surprised. So a little peek behind the curtain, but not really, because who cares?
We recorded Thursday last week, didn't we?
We recorded Thursday last week, and today's Tuesday. So, good job. I had a weekend of doing nothing. So I watched 4 films and put up the Christmas tree.
4 films.
Yeah,
I've
boy.
Watched 3 episodes of TV if I'm lucky.
I watched 4 films and 2 episodes of Penguin. So and I watched some sports. Do you know what? This is what it's like not having a kid though.
Yeah.
Sometimes I choose not to have any plans. So
that's wild to me.
If Vicky's doing stuff, if Vicky's like working or she's seeing her friends and that, sometimes I'll just be like, do you know what? I'm gonna do nothing, and I'll wake up, and I don't know why, but right in my head then was Kesha. Wake up in the morning.
I got to wake up in the morning.
No, you don't.
No,
you can't wake up in the morning. We don't wake up
No.
feeling like that, do we?
Also, did he
so funny,
did
man.
he sing the Coming Home song? Coming home, I'm coming home.
Who sings
Tell
that?
the world. Oh, don't worry about it.
I don't think.
Tell us what you've been watching before. I'm going to Google it before I say any more.
Yeah, no. So anyway, it was him. So no, it's fine.
That's so sad.
So yeah, when I wake up in the morning, I just do my little household chores and stuff.
It is Diddy. He's ruined something else for me. God.
Well, hang out with a cat.
Allegedly.
Sorry, yeah. Play some games, and yeah, just like for once diverting. Play some games, I just don't do anything, and that's really nice, man. It's really nice just to do nothing. So, if you ever want me to go on,
you were talking about things. So Jamie and I game together as well. And I say game together. I only play one game. We play Helldivers, which is a multiplayer game.
Helldivers 2, yeah.
That's a game which is so based on a film, right? Which it's very inspired by Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
And then they started the rumour mill about potentially like a film in the works for Helldivers. And do you ever just think I haven't seen the Borderlands film, but I've not heard positive things.
Oh my god.
So
you see Red Letter Media talk about it.
I've not even seen
that. It's really funny.
What I was going to say was, sometimes don't you think if you've got a great idea for a game, it just doesn't always translate? And what I mean by that is something like the fun of Helldivers is the craziness and bad situations happening, like when people accidentally die within a team and stuff. And in a film, you can't get that across, and the storytelling tropes don't fit. But I was thinking the other day, maybe that's why suddenly I had an epiphany of why so many video game adaptations just don't really work. And I remember the modern Tomb Raider film with Alicia Vikander. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
I quite like it. I think it's
all right. It's all right.
There's a section where they're literally doing a puzzle in a game. Towards the end, it's you've got to get such and such crystals. And in the game, that's completely fine. But in the film, it's what are you doing? it just doesn't translate, and it's just really interesting. But then it's weird how films could sometimes go the other way. So the new Indiana Jones games being really well reviewed, people are really into it, and I don't know, just
well, because the Indiana Jones game is basically Uncharted, and the Uncharted film with Tom Holland. Never get another one, I think, but it was awful.
Is it?
I watched, it's crap. It's just very much same as if Helldivers 2 was made into a film. It'd just be
it'd be rubbish.
Yeah. And it'd be all serious, and then it'd be that was rad and shit like that, and you just make it,
and it'd be The Rock and Kevin Hart. The Rock would be, the Rock would be like the lead.
Oh, do you know what? I'm raging. I'm raging even thinking about it.
But also, sorry, last thing on this. I was on a tangent and there was a point to it, and I've completely
Borderlands.
Right, the crux. It's gone.
But anyway, Borderlands.
Anyway.
I sometimes do like watching stuff like that because I'm just like, well, how bad can it be? And
Doom, the film. That's quite fun.
With the first person bit, like
yeah. Rosamund Pike and the Rock.
Yeah, it's Rosamund Pike. Met her. Told you that. And sometimes
told it on the pod as well.
About every time she gets mentioned, I say I've met Rosamund Pike, and I did the lights for her when I was a junior AV technician. I wasn't very good because I had no training, but here we are, and thank you, Rosamund, for
being patient,
being so patient with me. Anyway,
what have you been watching? Sorry, I completely diverted you there.
It's okay. So here we go. Friday night. I watched my Criterion, which was quite a new one, the big fat Criterion sale that's sadly ended now. But I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, and I just couldn't remember anything about it. Risky Business, 1983, directed by Paul Brickman, starring Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise must be one of his first ever films. Maybe it might even be his first. Anyway, the film is about a young lad. It could. Do you know what? It could be a John Hughes film. We're going to talk about John Hughes today.
I remember this film. He turns his home into a brothel.
Yeah, it's about a 17-year-old young lad, and he basically, his mum and dad are away. He decides to get a prostitute around, as you do. You know when your mum and dad would go out, and you'd be like, "Oh, should we just call up a prostitute?" Like that scenario. Like it's just wild.
Wow.
So yeah, it's so dark, and it is quite a dark film actually.
I've not seen it in years, but
it's quite dark in places. But his parents are really wealthy, so and that's the thing. Like you can't really give a shit about him because he's called a prostitute round. He owes her loads of money, obviously, because they cost a lot of money, and then he's driving his dad's Porsche around. So like, I'm struggling to like feel any kind of peril
at any point.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, he's quite rich.
His dad will cover it with a credit card when he gets back.
Yeah, and probably have a go as well. Anyway, so it's pretty good. It's pretty dark. It's pretty funny. It's obviously Tom Cruise, and it's got Rebecca De Mornay in it, who was in stuff like Wedding Crashers, American Pie Reunion. It's quite good. It's quite enjoyable. Like I enjoyed it quite a lot. It's got Joe Pantoliano in it, who's in he's Cypher from The Matrix. Mm-hmm. He's like basically the pimp who's controlling the prostitutes. It's funny because it's like it's dark, but it's also quite lighthearted somehow. So anyway, I enjoyed that on a Friday night. So shout out to Chandra. I watched a film called Dinner in America. Now, this is the same director of the film that I'm obsessed with, Snack Shack. Adam Ramea. So he has written and directed this, and he's written, directed it, and I don't think he was a cinematographer. He edited it. Yeah, that's it. Written, directed, edited. So this is a film about on the run punk rocker and a young girl that's obsessed with this band, and they go on kind of like this little road trip together. Well, not a road trip, but like they're hanging out with each other basically. Now it's starring Kyle Gallner, who is in Jennifer's Body. He's in Scream. He's in Strange Darling from this year, which is really good. And it's just like, oh man, I love it. I give it like 9 out of 10. It's just my shit. Like coming of age, but like kind of not. It's got Emily Skeggs in it, who's fantastic. And she plays like a really like awkward young teen girl, and it's just about their relationship. And I'm gonna say this again later, but we are not getting films like this anymore. And this guy is writing comedy, and I think pretty much what I said in my review is like at the moment he's the bravest guy in Hollywood, like that isn't scared to make a joke. It's just there's loads of swearing in it. It's just actually what teens are like, and it's just fantastic, and it's just so much fun, and the writing's quite it's quite sweet in places. Just some good messaging in there as well. I'd highly recommend it. And there's a song in there that they recorded for the film, like with the girl. It's called Watermelon, I think. It's just really catchy as hell. So that's coming out on Arrow Blu-ray.
Watermelon. I love you, love watermelon. Is
What's
it
that
one?
No.
I want so when I worked, I used to do editing for Live Nation when I was over in Australia, and one of the projects was for like a child's entertainer. It wasn't Miss Rachel, but like similar vibe, and like I had to do a mashup of like all the different like songs, and the one song was watermelon, watermelon. I like you like watermelon.
No, I've never heard it.
It just went on. But yeah,
It's also
stuck in my
not
head.
It's also not the song by Harry Styles, which
No, it's definitely not that one.
is a banger though. Watermelon sugar, ha. So I was in a bar and they were doing karaoke, and
No
some
one could sing
guy.
that.
I obviously did the Smiths, This Charming Man, obviously.
Classic.
And this guy went up after and did Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles, and he was absolutely incredible.
I think that's so terrible then, but anyway.
No, he was amazing. I was like, I'm so glad I went up before him. So yeah, Dinner in America, directed by Adam Ramea. I missed this at the Mockingbird. It's kind of had like a bit of a resurgence, really. This film, like it was released in 2020, but it's kind of like through COVID, I think. So it's had a bit of a resurgence. Picked up by Arrow, so I just rented it off Apple, and I absolutely loved it. It's just if you just like a good comedy, it just reminds me of those Judd Apatow comedies from the 2000s. Just it doesn't really give a shit, and I like that because films care too much nowadays about offending people, and that's why they don't get picked up. So I'm really glad this is having a bit of resurgence, and yeah, we'll go with that. So I then put up the Christmas tree. And so at this point, John, I've had a really relaxing, wonderful weekend. I'm like, Sunday, let's put up the Christmas tree. So put up the Christmas tree, and then while I was putting up the Christmas tree, I watched. And when I say while I was putting it up, I was just building it. You know, it's not arduous work. I watched The Lemon Drop Kid, 1951 film by Sidney Lanfield. Now, this is a film about. It's going to be quite hard for me to describe, actually. It's about a guy called the Lemon Drop Kid, played by Bob Hope. Sydney, his name is, and he is he's a bit of he's basically going around the horse racing, cheating everyone out of like money. So he's telling people to bet on a horse and then saying he'll split the winnings with them because he's given them a tip. And so whichever horse wins, he'll get the winnings. So he basically cheats a gangster out of his track winnings, and he owes the gangster. Oh, I can't remember, but it's quite a lot of money. It's about $2,000. So back in the 50s, it was $2,000, and I think now I worked it out because I wanted to. And it's like $25,000 now. So he then basically creates a fake charity, raising money by people collecting money in Santa suits for like old women in a home. So like he's basically just the whole film. He's like just getting himself into this crazy like situation. Pretty funny. I really enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. I would highly recommend it. It's difficult to find. I had to potentially download it from somewhere, potentially. And then, sorry, 2 seconds. Sadly, this is only a Coke Zero, not a Dr Pepper or a beer. So I also watched last night Christmas in Connecticut by Peter Godfrey. That was directed by. I just really fancied I just love a classic Christmas film. You know, I love the music behind it. It's just really nice. This has Barbara Stanwyck in it, and it's got Dennis Morgan. It does have S.Z. Sakall in it, who's fantastic. People might know him from Casablanca. This is about basically a war hero who is recovering, and he is obsessed with this column by that Barbara Stanwyck's writing, but Barbara Stanwyck is like making stuff up in the column. So she's like making stuff about her life, like writing about a house and it's just not true, like writing about a kid and stuff. And so the publicist wants to come and spend Christmas with her because he just wants to spend time with her. And they're really scared that she's going to get fired for lying about all this stuff. So they basically get a baby and like they change the house to try and like make out like this is the house that they live in. And she's got this husband who like is fake, not a real husband. And it's just really funny. Like this character played by S.Z. Sakall, his name's Felix, like just hilarious. He's like he must be German or something. He's like everything is honky donkey, like and shit like that. And she's pretending that she's a really good cook in the column, but she can't cook, and then she's having to like flip pancakes in front of him.
It's a comedy, right? Right.
Yes, I would say it's like a screwball comedy kind of thing. This is 1945, This is quite widely available. I would highly recommend that. You can just rent it off like
The
Apple
plot
TV.
sounds like Shattered Glass. You ever seen that? That's
No,
the
I
Hayden
haven't.
Christensen film when it proved he could act when everyone thought he couldn't act.
Was that after? I'm assuming that was after Phantom Menace.
So it was,
Sorry, not after Attack of the Clones.
It was after Attack of the Clones in 2003, and he plays like a journalist who basically they're like, oh, he's a brilliant up and coming investigative journalist, and then like
Yeah.
it just turns out it's just all lies, and then it's about him getting found out and how he covers it up. But it's good. It's good. It's good. Like,
Yeah.
I bet watching it back now, it'll seem really 2000s, but that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed my weekend of films, and then I also watched a couple of episodes of. So I watched
Penguin,
Star Trek again, and I watched Penguin
Okay.
again. Penguin is. I want to say, I mean, I've not seen loads of TV this year, but it's up there with the best TV I've seen in a
top
very,
tier, yeah.
very long time. Like, it's really, really high quality. I think the performances. I can't remember the woman's name
I'll
from
tell
Penguin.
you now.
But Colin Farrell he's just so transformative. Like, it's crazy, really. And obviously
it says it's a mini series on here, and it's definitely not a mini series. It's Kristen
Miliotti. That's
Yeah.
it. Yes, Christine Milioti.
And she's also in. There's something else I saw recently. She's in. It was.
Well, anyway, you can tell me while I fill the dead air.
Sorry, Fargo. She was in, and Wolf of Wall
Okay.
Street.
Oh, okay. She's really good. I think maybe people are overblowing her performance a little bit, but she's quite terrifying.
I think she's really good.
No, she is.
She's very good.
No, she is. I do think sadly, it's not sad. Colin Farrell's just like, oh, he's unbelievable. Like, he's just so much fun in it. Like, the little like quirks in his face. Like, he'll be winning BAFTAs left, right, and centre. You wait. Fantastic TV. So yeah, John, what have you been watching, son?
So, just to say, it's a very good time to be getting back into Apple TV. If there's a trial coming up or any offers over Christmas, I would recommend. So, Severance Season 2 is out in the middle of January. I loved Severance Season 1. Jamie, I can't remember if you watched it or not.
Well, I watched... no, I didn't, but on the way to Malaga, I forgot to tell you, actually, I watched episode 2 of Severance, and I don't know whether it might not be for me, because I find
It's a
myself
slow
a
burn.
little bit bored, which I know I shouldn't be, but I just find the way I guess the environment is just very bland, and I know it's supposed to be.
But then you need to, I hate to say it, like with TV now, and someone said this to me, 3 episodes is kind of a must these days, because we're gone are the days of when you got your pilot and it was like beginning, middle, end. Nowadays
Yeah.
you get an hour of a mood piece, don't you? And then it's like episode 2.
So
we'll get the
wanky.
rest. No, but it's
No, but
true.
you're right. No, you're right. You're right.
So,
right.
so like Penguin's prime example. First episode, what actually happens? There's like one key plot thing, and the rest of it is just mood and
Yeah,
establishing. But it's not like you used to watch a pilot. It used to have to, I don't know, kind of sell everything to you. So I think I've already told you about the other thing. So Silo is also out now, season 2. I really like Silo season 1. Silo season 2 is very good.
Yeah.
I just think it's another show with very good production values. Maybe not as top tier as top HBO, but it's still a very good looking show. And I like the fact it's I don't want to say her name wrong.
Rebecca Ferguson, is it?
Yeah, but her character she's just super capable, but it's not plot armor. It's all established early on. So she was brought up as an engineer, and she works in mechanical. So when there's problems, and they do a really good way of, there's like a whole episode where she doesn't talk, but they visually depict what she's thinking with show don't tell.
Yeah.
And there's so many programs which don't have the confidence to do that. You'd have to have someone be like, maybe I'll try this, and I just love that kind of, like not treating you with complete.
Yeah. Well, it's a book series. I think I mentioned last time.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
The book is called Wool, I think.
There's like 4 of them, aren't there? I didn't want to read them.
3.
I think
I think it's a trilogy, but I remember years ago my friend recommended these books to me, and I'm like, because I know the plot of it, so I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it. But obviously, I don't. Well, how early is it in that we? What's well, I'm not even going to bother. No,
I wouldn't even go near it.
I don't even know what people know, so I'm not going to bother.
The setup of season 1 is they are in a silo, and like no one can go out, and then if you ask to go out, it's because It's just it's one of those where the world building's so good in it. Just the concept of people having to walk up and down flights of stairs for like days on end just to go and see somebody and stuff. Like, it's just really well executed, and like the way it's controlled. And then it's the classic season 2 of we're discovering more of the lore now, so you feel like you know a lot more. I'm sure I don't really know much, but it's just really good. I like Rebecca Ferguson, and there's a guy in it called, I'm gonna find him now. So Silo season 2. It is Tim Robbins plays Bernard Holland, and he's very, very good. I enjoy him a lot. Aside from that, I finished Industry completely, which I'm actually devastated about, because that is weirdly a show which has got better and better. The first season was very relationshipy, throughly, kind of like had business stuff as well, but it was very kind of, I don't know. Was the most recent season kind of went for the style of White Lotus, where you kind of set and you go back in time. You're like, well, how have we got here? Or you didn't know at the time it was back or forward, and then you're working it out. Just really interesting. It's a show which, it sounds really pretentious, but when a show really looks like the writers are more confident, they found their feet, so they're doing really different things. So like this is the first year where there's like an episode for one character who we've only had a bit part in before, and it's done that for numerous characters. It's gone away from having a single lead and kind of spread it across, and it's all the better for it. But also just it is essentially lots of people in rooms talking about numbers, and I can completely understand why people don't like that.
It's like Moneyball, kind of like...
Yeah, and it just treats the audience with such respect. But it's the whole year, the whole season this time's about, like, each year like deals with a set theme. So like the first season is who's gonna, like, they have to make it to they basically have to prove themselves in the first 12 months. Otherwise, if they don't get proven in 12 months, they're not going to be retained by the bank.
Okay.
And then in season 2, it's like, okay, they're in, but they're a junior, and they have to hit the targets and quotas, and it's just after COVID, so the market's collapsed. What happens in the recovery after COVID? One of the few shows I've actually seen deal with it. There's a whole episode about someone who literally won't leave their hotel room because they've become like, scared of going outside after the pandemic. But again, just confident storytelling, well executed. And then season 3 is just like, it gets do you know what, it's always been a relatively dark show, but it is dark. Like it has some really negative viewpoints on.
How many seasons are there?
3. I wouldn't say it's nihilistic, but like it's a show which I find quite stressful. It's kind of got the Uncut Gems vibes of people speaking over each other, and like there was one episode where it's about a gambler, and oh my god, it's like he wins a load of money, then goes out and basically blows a load of it within the first hour, then has to win it back, then he gets battered because he owes a load to... Do you know what I mean? It's one of those where it escalates, and like
it's got Kit Harington in it. I didn't know.
In the most recent season, yes, he plays a guy who's a business owner.
Good looking cast, that.
So they go to... So the most recent season is about an IPO, so basically they're going to market, and the basic plotline in the background is about remember when the energy crisis happened in the UK, and when everyone had to get bailed out because basically with the war in Ukraine, like people couldn't afford their energy and heating bills.
Was that when countries like France put a cap on energy companies, but we didn't do that, and then so energy companies made record profits, but obviously
so it's about that.
Oh yeah, that was fun. That was
So this one's about how this company goes to get listed, but it turns out it's called Lumi, and basically it's like it says it's for the people, it's going to provide super cheap energy, but then obviously it doesn't account for if there's a war abroad and stuff, like gas prices soar and then their business model doesn't work. It's a whole thing. Anyway, it's just really well executed, really well done. I'm gutted it's finished, and it's apparently they always do 1 year on, 1 year off. So we've had our year on now, we're going to have a year off, and then it'll be back again. But very much looking forward to that. And then
might need to check it out. I need to finish Succession actually.
It's just the first season's a bit like, it's more relationshipy and like not bad, but just like don't know. It's a show that just each year without being pretentious matures, and like it's the third year, it's just way more confident and just like, man, this is good, well shot. Yeah. And I think I said to you before, it's probably a cheap show to make because it's lots of people sat around tables rather than like particular budget. Anyway,
fun times, hey?
I think we need to talk about the festive things. So I have my red light backdrop, which is, I went to put green, but then my computer decided my face would look weird with green, so we've gone for red.
Okay, like
for Christmas
Amsterdam.
spirit.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's awkward.
Sorry. That was weird.
Do you want to introduce the film we're watching?
Oh, hell yeah, I do. Well, this is John's request. We're only doing one film this week, so that's important to note. So we're doing one film this week. We're going to spoil the hell out of it. Not that there's much to spoil, really.
Christmas special.
And if you haven't seen it, then get a life. We are going to talk about Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, Christopher Columbus, written by your boy, who I can't remember his name.
John Hughes.
John Hughes, thanks.
Guess who's alone in New York this Christmas?
God,
John!
you butchered that.
I know, it was horrible, wasn't it? Do you know what?
That is
I think I'm getting ill, right? Like during the pod, my throat's going, and when I'm swallowing, it's getting a bit sore. Anyway, that's not an excuse for why I butchered that. John Hughes, who apparently is like one of my top 3 directors, but I couldn't remember his name. He wrote this, he produced this, and he said this film had to have the returning cast from the first film. It had to. And John, what an absolute spectacle it is. What's this? You've only seen this twice.
I think this is the second time I've seen it.
Crazy.
So for context, and I think, apologies if I've said this on the pod before, I didn't see the first Home Alone film till about 2016 because Harriet could not believe that I'd never seen it, and then we sat down and watched it, and I was like, yeah, I like it, but I don't love it because I don't have the affinity with it. Whilst now, that's probably one of my first go-to Christmas films. So it shows how quickly these things change, and I love the first one because I think it's very tight and the logic of it seems really sound. The second one is definitely more of a stretch, but the whole thing's all of it's a stretch.
The logic,
you just have to you have to go with it.
Suspend your disbelief. It's fine.
I tell you what made me laugh. I used to love Die Hard 2 as a kid.
Yeah.
Right. And Bruce Willis got really annoyed about Die Hard 2 because he said that they kept referencing the first film, and he just said he wished they'd taken all the references out, and it just happened to be happening, and he was like, it just pissed him off. They kept being like, oh, not this again, and oh, not another Christmas where this happened.
Yeah.
And this film is around that. It's not too far away from that. So when was Die Hard 2? 1990. And this film has that same thing where you're trying to retread the same points, you don't want to step on the toes too much. I think Die Hard 2 was 91.
It was 1990. Well done, mate.
Right
Look at you, man. Nailed it.
Yeah, because it buggered the production of Alien 3 because Fox spent too much money on it. But anyway, my point being... I can't remember what my point being was.
Fantastic. Well, you said
it's got the Die Hard 2 thing of where it keeps being like... Oh, so there's a joke where they're counting for the car, and it's like, oh, Kevin is there this time, but it does quite a few references to the first.
It does loads. It treads. I would say it treads dangerously close.
It's a very thin line. But anyway, tell you what, before we get into this, because we're just going to end up talking about the entire thing. Do you want to do a brief synopsis of what happens in Home Alone 2? Bet you can guess from the full title. So what's the subtitle of this film?
Lost in New York.
Oh, I wonder what happens.
So yeah, we find ourselves in this incredible house again, this ludicrously large house that none of us can relate to, and I don't even feel any disdain towards them because it's just so much fun they're having, and yeah, they're going on holiday again because Dad's paying for the whole family to go on holiday to Miami, Florida. So they're getting ready, they're going on holiday. We'll speak about the start of it in a minute, but the overall synopsis. And then this time we're like, right, it does play back to the first film a lot, and you would think annoyingly so, but it gets away with it because it's just so funny all the way through and well written. And so they double count Kevin. They're like, no, they make him sleep upstairs again, and he's given the whole spiel again, like he doesn't care, he enjoyed it being on his own.
Why? He gets his brother Buzz. They're doing a performance at the school, and he's got a solo coming up.
It's awful.
Yeah, it is. So basically, it's your kid's worst nightmare because everyone's laughing at them while they're performing, which is not good. But everyone's laughing because Buzz has held 2 candles up behind his ears. I was like, is that funny?
And then he's playing drums. Yeah, all the parents are laughing at him.
It's just I think kids. Well, maybe it's a UK thing. Parents would be tutting at that behaviour. I don't think it would be condoned.
It's really cruel. It's very, very cruel. And so, obviously, Kevin pushes his brother over, and the whole choir falls over. So,
yeah, because that's the way it works.
Yeah, of course. So then obviously there's a big thing, and we've got Kevin. Buzz is kind of apologizing to Kevin in front of the whole family for humiliating him, and then he goes up to Kevin. He's like, "Beat that, you little trout sniffer." It's just so funny, man.
It's very like a politician's apology where he doesn't actually really apologise.
No, like, exactly.
If any offence was caused, that was not what I intended, kind of vibe.
Yeah. So we've got that.
Say sorry.
Yeah, we've got that, and then the overarching plot is that they're double checking on Kevin a few times. They get Kevin's there for the whole time. Then there just happens to be a man in the airport wearing exactly the same outfit as his dad, and they kind of get split up because Kevin's looking for batteries for his Talk Boy, which I used to have, by the way. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. Oh yeah, unreal. And then they were like, he gets on the wrong flight. And the only thing I could say about this was like, American Airlines, surely you would not want to be outed on Home Alone 2 because your lax security procedures are unbelievable.
You got to remember, this is pre 9/11. I feel like.
No, I know. Yeah,
I feel like
he's on the Twin Towers at the beginning. So anyway, right. So that happens. Yeah. They get split up. The family go to Miami, and it's this very much like, give this to Kevin, and they're handing it down this big long line. Here you go, Kevin. Oh, Kevin's not here. And it's going back up the line, and it's like, oh my God, we've done it again. Kevin finds himself in New York, of all cities, and so from there, the Sticky Bandits are back, or previously known as the Wet Bandits. And Kevin is alone in New York, and he's home alone again, and he bumps into Harry and Marv, who are plotting to steal the money from the Duncan's Toy Chest, which is a toy store, and the money would be going to a children's hospital. So Kevin is then going to make sure that they don't get away with it, basically, and then from there on out we have basically a retread of Home Alone 1. In my opinion, I would say it's more refined. I would say there's some better ideas.
Bigger budget.
It's just... I spent the whole 2 hours in fits of laughter, and I do every time I watch it. It's so well written, and it's so funny, and the characters, the actors that play them are just perfect.
I'm not that bothered by the pigeon lady, so you have to have the character who's like...
Nor am I.
In the first film, he has the neighbour who's scary with a shovel, and he's told like he buries his relatives or whatever. And then you have the really heartfelt reveal that like actually like his family don't speak to him. And by the end, there's like that Christmas moment, and it's kind of makes you swoon, and it's like, oh nice. And like this one, it's like, oh, there's a lady in the park who doesn't like speaking to people, and she only likes pigeons. And I've seen this film twice. Never bothered me, that part. I don't feel the whole. So she fell out with a partner, and they fell out of love with her. So then she decided that only pigeons were for her. I mean, okay.
Well, look, she's had a pretty big career. Not so many big films.
I'm not saying off the actress. I'm saying the role of the pigeon part person just doesn't really do much for me.
I would say my only gripe with this film is that I find Brenda Fricker, and I'm really sorry, apologies, in this particular performance, I don't love it, because I think it seems understated. I just think it comes off a bit hammy almost.
I think it's more hammy than in the first one. I think the guy in the first one nails it.
No, he's good. Anyway. Yeah, he's good. But no, so that's my only gripe with this film. Like overall, like I mean, we start, and obviously we've got all these like different characters. We've got Uncle Frank again, who just is an arsehole.
You know when he shouts at him and he's like, "Come here, little pervert," and what does he say? Like, does he say, "I'll smack you next Sunday"? Is it?
I'll slap you silly.
And I was like, man,
get out, you little pervert! I'll slap you silly. It's so funny though.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's a reason for that. It's because he records it on this.
John Hughes apparently was a big believer in like setting up like gags which come back later, and like Christopher Columbus was very good at like establishing those, and I think that's one thing that foreshadowing is what we should say. The first film does it incredibly well, and the second film does it very well too.
Look, there's lots of different bits. There's the dad unplugging the alarm clock. There is which is just daft, and I was thinking, well, I was like, loads of this just wouldn't be relevant today because of mobile phones and stuff. But you've got like
that's like every episode of Buffy in like the first 5 seasons of Buffy. It's like if they had a phone at any point, they'd just call her and she'd turn up. There'd be no jeopardy.
Yeah. Well, so we have the whole like beginning bit, and it's just so funny. And like the whole like Kevin's got this Talk Boy, which is basically a voice. It's a voice recorder, and like it can change the voice, like slow the voice down, that kind of thing. And so obviously immediately he's just doing all the things that a kid would do. It's like a dictaphone essentially, where he's like, his mum's like, Kevin, have you pecked? Yes. And then he plays it. Yes. And it's just quite funny. Now I think I might have mentioned this on the first pod of Home Alone. I had like a big Macaulay Culkin doll, which was probably about a foot tall, right? And it had the backpack on it, and it had a pull cord string where you just pull it, and he would do phrases for the film, like and obviously I had the dictaphone as well, like just because I was just obsessed with it. And I remember my little brother at the time was terrified. Well, my little brother at the time, he's still my little brother, terrified of that. And I used to just play it to like scare him and stuff. So yeah, I had the doll, which do you know what? I'd just love to know. I bet I did this last time. The doll, right, is now going on eBay for £100.
Do you know this? Like recently, I've gone on a spate of like, oh, there's that toy that I think Joe and I talked about this. Like eBay targeted adverts are the worst now. It's all the toys I couldn't afford as a child, and it's now like, oh, they're unboxed, so they're now £150 when they used to RRP for like £25.
Crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, by the way, when I'm looking at this doll now, it looks so shit.
I need to look at this now. Anyway,
I remember it. So if anyone wants
Home Alone doll,
if anyone wants to look at it, it's a pull string doll, Home Alone 2 pull string doll, and I just remember it being like, it looks awful.
It looks like Chucky.
But it's got. I used to put stuff in the little backpack.
No wonder he was terrified. He has definitely got a Chucky vibe.
So I had that doll, and I just think that Macaulay Culkin in this one compared to the first one, he was fantastic in the first, but his acting has obviously got even better in this one. And it's just all of those different characters and all the writing throughout that opening scene is like, there's not a wasted sentence. Like, it's just absolutely fantastic. And obviously, go on.
Isn't it like he got 150k for the first film and then got 6 million for the second?
Something I don't know, actually, like that. But that's
it was something like
wild.
that to get him back, and then he retired, didn't he? Pretty much.
So he did. Yeah. So he did. Obviously, he did a few films. He did Richie Rich, and he's. I think the last film he was in was it Zoolander 2, which was that was like only a few years ago.
He was in My Girl as well before that, which is one of the most heartbreaking films ever. Yeah,
it's really sad. And do you know what? He's been in a few bits and pieces, but I do think Zoolander 2 was the last like feature length film he was in.
Still worth 18 million.
Well, yeah, of course. Like he I think he just quit acting after a little while and just had a really big break. So like I think he did.
John Hughes talked about he'd written a third film, but they had waited till he was a teenager because they wanted it to be like he was older and then something happened and it'd be like a darker film. And then
I'm glad they didn't do that.
And then they were gutted because he'd retired from acting by the time he turned the correct age. They found out he'd retired.
His don't get me wrong, he had a very short career. Like it's basically 1989 in Uncle Buck, and then
which we watched,
yeah, just up to 1990. I mean, and the last film of note that he did was Richie Rich, which people don't like it. I quite like it. I think it's pretty good. But that was in 1994, so it really only spanned 4 years. And obviously I'm not going to go into the issues because as we know that we do try and keep things mostly positive on the podcast, like the issues he had with his parents and the relationship he had with Michael Jackson and stuff. But obviously I think Hollywood, he'd made his money, and his parents basically tried to steal all of his money, as far as I know.
Really randomly, do you know he turns up on Red Letter Media and does reviews with them sometimes?
Yeah, so he's
just like a really chill guy.
No, yeah, he's a very prominent figure now. Like I think he's kind of almost. I know he had a quite a bad drug addiction at one point as well. But and when I say quite a bad drug addiction, it's noted, you know, like it's not. I'm not kind of like digging, like it's quite widely known. He wasn't in a good place. And I think that was a lot of that was due to the incredible fame he had in such a short period of time. Like he was like about an 8-year-old boy.
Apparently this was a nightmare to film because they were doing it in public at like the airport, like that sequence, and they said it was far more difficult in the second because, one, there was far more locations, but two, because he was a star at this point, they had to have extra security, like closing off, and it was apparently a nightmare. I thought, imagine being like, how old was he at this point? Like 10, younger, I don't know. Like, it would have been an absolute nightmare. So
Yeah.
it's not normal to be around, is it? Really?
No, not at all. Like, and it's, I think that he's in a band and stuff now. He's got his own podcast. Like, it's really, what's really nice is to see his like resurgence, because I think around the 2000s that was when he was not in the greatest place. Like, I'm quite
He's
sure
been thriving for a few years now, hasn't he? Like,
yeah,
and then,
he's back in the limelight, and I think he's.
And you could tell he did that Google advert for Christmas last year. You know, when they went back to the house and then they used the Alexa to do all the stuff. But it's stupid sounds. It just felt like he was willing to actually talk about it and do it. And like, don't know, he looks healthy and like it's good. We like positive things.
Well, look, it's great to see. Like, I think he's got a band called the Pizza Underground, or I'm pretty sure they had a band called the Pizza Underground. But
the
yeah,
pizza in the limousine.
Do you know what? But yeah, so obviously it's really, really cool, and I'm just glad that he's kind of found his feet again. Like, I think he's in a really steady relationship now. He came out like not long ago and said that, like, I can't remember the woman that he's with, but she's really good for him and stuff. And obviously his little brother, who's also in the film, Kieran Culkin, he's had a really
Mr. Succession.
Yeah, like, but he's had a great. He's having. I would say he's probably in the most popular spate of his career now as well. So it's really nice that they're both kind of doing really well. Like, Kieran Culkin he's been in lots of stuff anyway. I think what I mostly know him from Scott Pilgrim. He's in Scott Pilgrim, but obviously now he's in Succession, and he's in a new film called A Real Pain, which is supposed to be.
We wanted to see at the film festival, but we were away the day it was on, which is a real shame.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
anyway.
amazing. So yeah, like, I mean, in the space of 2 years, like, he's an absolute megastar, because he's one of the most convincing child performers that's ever walked the earth, with such a special. He's just got that
twinkle in
X
the
factor, hasn't
eye.
he? He has, like, he's just got the X factor, and I think him paired with Harry and Marv, Danny DeVito and what's his name? Is it Michael Stern?
Not Danny DeVito.
Daniel Stern. Sorry, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. Bloody hell!
I'd also take Danny DeVito. He'd be a good bad guy.
They look right. Yeah, they look. Yeah, Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci had obviously just won his Oscar as well for Goodfellas.
It's mad. He did that. And
so, like, I've seen
some
some
of
of
the
the
sequel to this.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of the behind the scenes and stuff, and like Daniel Stern's like, yeah, you know, Joe's walking around with that Oscar now. Like, he's always got his jacket buttoned up, and he's got his Oscar right in there. But yeah, so we find ourselves in New York, and I would say that this film has, like, it really, really makes you want to go to New York. You see the beginning.
Great travel advert.
It's fantastic. You've got the yellow cab. You've got the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, and he's basically like going around all these places, and then finally we see him standing on the Twin Towers, which it's quite odd, really, isn't it, to see them in a film so prominent when about after what happened. You know, it's crazy, like, to think what happened.
That's kind of one of those things where why that was so impactful. Sorry, getting on to this, but like, we're of the generation.
Well, no, I think it's fine to get onto it.
News. But what I was going to say was the fact of, like, the decision that was made for them to do what they did there was obviously because of the fact that when we watch these things, we still think about it back to that. It's like a horrible reminder when you watch anything. Friends is a prime example as well in all the shots. Like, it never goes out the public consciousness because
it's almost unbelievable that it happened. You know, like it's like, but yeah. So we have that, like, and it's just immediately makes you want to go to New York. Like, it's one of those films that really gets me in the spirit of, like, Christmas, you know, and I'm not really a massive Christmas fan. And so we then see Marv, and so Kevin's just walking past, and then we see Marv and Harry. The back of this, like, van goes up, and one of my favourite parts of the film is they're in the back of this van. It's a fish van, and he's like, what's that, Harry? He's like, you smell that? He's like, yeah. It's fish. He's like, no, that's the smell of freedom. He's like, no, it's fish. And it's just really funny. Like, and immediately we find out they're no longer the wet bandits. They're now the sticky bandits. And he has this sticky hand, and he's putting it in charity boxes, just taking like money from people. And then we go to the Plaza Hotel, John. So
yeah, so fun facts about the Plaza Hotel: was owned by Donald Trump at the time. Donald Trump said they could film there as long as he had a cameo, and he also agreed to take the carpet out of the main reception, which he never put back in because he liked it so much with seeing what it looked like then and there. Thank you to Joe Blow Films on YouTube for the trivia. And I just find it quite funny that Trump wanted a cameo in Home Alone 2. I mean, he obviously knew how popular the first one was and thought, I'll get me some of that. But it doesn't stop there. The fact that the contact number for booking the suite in the hotel was correct, so you could call that number and actually go and book.
That's genius.
And the other part of that was they had a Home Alone experience there for many years. It doesn't still exist now, where you could have the room which was the same layout as the room they had in the film. And I'm like, that's smart marketing. But then someone told us about the Pretty Woman suite and said that was the same thing.
Yeah, it was me. Yeah.
Oh, was that you? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure I looked.
Why do I think someone else went there? But anyway,
I looked at who else you been podding with? I looked at the Plaza Hotel because I want to go to New York, and I was like, it'd be really cool to stay there, but I think it's about £1,200 a night. I think I don't quote me on it. It was a while ago. Put it this way, all I knew was that when I opened up the tab, I was like, nope. And closed it again. I was like, yeah. But it's the Plaza Hotel. Like it is pretty magical, isn't it? And the casting. I know. I keep going on about the casting.
Tim Curry.
Oh, man, like Jane Jenkins and Janet Hutchinson, who were in charge of the casting, have absolutely nailed this. And when we have Tim Curry, who is what's the other guy's name who's in all of Adam Sandler's films? Rob Schneider, when he's dead young. Tim Curry and Rob Schneider are just a really good duo. Tim Curry's face, my favourite part of the one of my favourite parts of the whole film is when Kevin's sitting in bed. Sorry, he's in the limousine and he's watching The Grinch, and again, nod to the first one. Yes. And The Grinch does that big, massive smile, and then it fades away to Tim Curry's face, and he's doing the exact same thing. I just think it's genius. I love the Plaza Hotel. I think it's so much fun. And it's a retread of the first.
So to give context, Kevin's got his dad's credit card and some money. So he basically says, my dad's in the hotel, so I need to get the room. He's in a business meeting. So they set up the room for him. And it's funny because his entire bill for the trip, didn't they say it's less than $1,000? $900 on room service.
$927 on room service.
I thought, considering how long's he been there, like a week?
I don't know. I think it was only maybe like 48 hours.
Oh, okay, that is quite a lot then.
And also,
I was going to say, considering
£927 in 1992. Hey, that's £4,000 on ice cream.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I didn't factor in the inflation. I was like, £900 for like more than 2 days. That's all right for him, isn't it? Not saying it's the ideal situation, but like considering it's a child, it could have done a lot worse. But now Jamie's going to tell me what that's worth today. Go on, what's it worth?
No, I was not going to tell you what it's worth.
Go on, do it. Go on, get your little app out.
What? 920.
His bill was what? £920. Let's see.
$927.
Dollars. Sorry. In 1992 to today.
Worth today. Okay,
cool. How much did Kevin McAllister spend?
$2,000. Which is not. Yeah, I don't know. $2,000 on ice cream, mate. I'd be raging. But also,
he could have done a lot worse, couldn't he?
He could have done a lot worse.
He orders room service. He orders like ice cream to his room. Yeah. He does all sorts of things.
Do you know what he could have done? He could have ordered a prostitute, like
Tom Cruise.
Like Tom Cruise
in that film. And then he orders like a limo to come outside the hotel, which has the pizza. By the way, that's another thing. If you stay in that hotel back in the day, you could have the Home Alone experience and have the limo waiting for you to take you to locations from the film as well. I think that's class marketing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can't say that Donald Trump is not a good businessman, you know?
Yeah.
Good businessman. So I don't really mean to use the word good, but, you know, he's a successful businessman.
He's a businessman.
He's a businessman. I would like to say Kims.cinema.escape writes in.
Yes.
And she says, funniest scene / character. Now, I could name so many scenes, but John, what sticks out for you?
Funny scene / character.
Would you like me to go first?
Yeah, you go. I've got two.
So, I mean, Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of funny scenes for me. One of the funniest scenes is when they when he's walking. So Kevin's just entered the Plaza Hotel and he's walking upstairs with Rob Schneider, and Rob Schneider says, and this had me like laughing well out loud. You know, Herbert Hoover once stayed on this floor.
Yeah,
and, I think Macaulay and Kevin's like, the vacuum guy. He's like, no, the president. It's just like really funny, man.
I was going to say, you know, when he's in the hotel reception just before that, and she says, he's like, this cut from Kevin's mum saying, I don't think Kevin even knows how a credit card works. And then it hard cuts to like they're cashing the checks like off the credit cards for the room, and he's like, wow, it worked, or like, I can't believe it worked. And then she looks up and she's like, what? And it just, that tickled me.
There's that. So there's that, and then there's a scene where obviously the scene where Kevin's eating ice cream. He's also watching Angels with Filthier Souls, the sequel to the first, and so obviously that is dialed up to 11, just as the second film is in general. But again, he's recorded this on his Talkboy, and then we've got them they've come to kick him out the hotel, and he's playing it. And he's got them all. His
dad's in the other room, and the video's his dad. And
get on your knees and tell me you love me. It's like, I'm gonna give you to the count of 3, and it's the whole 1, 2, da 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 da, and it's just all that's just great. And I think Tim Curry plays the part like so conniving, sniveling, annoying guy. So that's another one. That's another scene that like I just find hilarious.
I was going to say, I think the weakest part of the film is when we get out of that hotel. When they actually get to the Pigeon Park, I'm like, nah, not bothered. And when they get into the abandoned house, I'm never that bothered about that sequence, because it's just...
What?
Yeah, no, I'm not here for it. I'll tell you why. In my head, I can't remember why I thought this. I thought there was more of a scene in the toy shop. I thought they tried to break into the toy shop more. I've just got the wrong memory of it. So I was like, oh, there's a whole defense of the toy shop, and then I was really disappointed when it was just another house but an abandoned one. And I was like, and I thought this is really fair. Like, if you read the reviews from the time, people were like, this had a bit of the Batman Returns about it. They were like, this is quite adult. So like when he electrocutes himself and it's like showing his bare skeleton, like his hair on ends and stuff.
No, I think that's quite slapstick. Do you not?
There's stuff like I just feel like someone said.
There is a horror scene.
There are bits that are meaner. Like, for example, like there's more violence against children. Like they're actually threatening with an actual gun this time. And there's other points where like when the traps are being set, like saying that the first one's pretty brutal with a nail and stuff, but this one's like it elevates it again with like the amount of physical violence towards them. And I was like,
the bricks
off
the
savage.
It's it doesn't get old, but also like that's attempted murder, isn't it? Like he's going down for that.
Absolutely.
Like, he's like,
it's interesting how at the time people were like, oh, this has kind of got a bit dark, and like, I don't know, the first one felt sillier. This one at points did feel a bit more like he's getting his Batman streak at this point, isn't he?
Well, you've got there is a couple of scenes where I thought that did feel quite dark, and that was when he's running away and he runs into the cab, and then inside the cab he's like, he's like, it's not much better in here, and like the guy turns around, he's got like a glass eye and like just a face full of like boils and stuff. That's quite scary. Well, not scary, but it would be for kids. But I think that like the scene in the house, mostly, I mean, obviously you've got the scene where he sets the rope on fire and stuff. Like it is absolutely brutal.
I like the planning stage. So, you know, whenever he does the setup, I do like that. Yeah. So when you get the big plan. As a kid, I was obsessed with like the idea of plans. You know what I mean? And it's all perfectly drawn, and like he does that stuff, and then like the him building it is almost more fun than the execution of. I feel like the first one felt like it had more payoff. I also don't know, and this is like a cinematography aspect to it. It felt darker, like visually. Like the house is like you know, in the first one, it's all about like he puts on the real Christmas lights, and then he has like the maquettes dancing or whatever. It feels like it's visually a dark film as well. Like it looks different, and in my head, I was comparing because it's the same director. If you watch the first Harry Potter to the second, like it is visually getting darker. As in just like how it actually looks, and then a new director comes in and changed it. But it's interesting to me how almost the film matured with the audience, maybe because it only came out like a year or two later. But maybe it was of the understanding that it had to don't know, just interesting.
There's always that. There is always that that fear that the second one has to go bigger, and that's why it does get a bit more violent. And I mean, it's still
it didn't offend me, by the way. I'm just saying. I thought it was really interesting reading reviews on the time. People being like, "Whoa, what's happened here?"
Like Kim, my favorite character, is Tim Curry. It's Tim Curry or it's Daniel Stern as Marv. Like them two are my absolute favorites. Like I just think they're both so hilarious. Like Marv and Harry's kind of relationship and the way they bounce off each other. I just think it's so funny. Like when he is in the house and all that paint falls on him and he's just full of paint and he's wiping it out of his eyes. I'm just chuckling throughout. Like, and I can't stop. Like, it just and obviously the uncle as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say Uncle Frank is a
Uncle
solid
Frank
shout.
is such an arsehole.
He's very un-PC, very non it's great. I'm here
very
for
funny. But yeah, so they're probably my favourites. And it's just again like it does. He grabs the woman's ass at the traffic lights to try and the woman. Do you know that bit where they bump into the blonde woman? Marv does first.
And he goes doesn't he tear something off? Like there's a tearing noise.
Yeah. Because he's the sticky bandit, isn't he? So, yeah. And then obviously Film Forage is written in and says, name a better bad guy duo than Harry and Marv. You can. And do you know what?
There's
I would
not many
probably
bad guy duos though, are there? Like normally bad guys run solo.
I would agree. Just I can't even argue against it. I think that they're just perfectly cast and just hilariously funny. So yeah, it's great. And I think that.
Sorry, no, I've got a different one.
Okay.
Can we do a Bond reference, James Bond reference?
Yeah, of course you can.
If I said to you Alec Trevelyan and Xenia Onatopp, they were a good bad guy combo.
Yep.
My name Xenia Onatopp and Sean Bean.
Mm-hmm.
I just
From GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And then I was going to say, have you watched the Mummy films recently, or can you remember them?
Not seen him in a very long time.
So he had Imhotep and his wife, Anuk Sunamun. Do you remember that?
No,
What?
sorry.
Oh my god! So that was like the first DVD, one of the first DVDs I had. So I watched it all the time. Hilariously, someone's put on this list Harley Quinn and the Joker from Folie à Deux, and I'm not having that.
Just so you can basically close that website.
Roy Batty and Pris in Blade Runner. Not that fussed, to be honest.
Nah.
But no, I'm sticking with my my number one I said there, which I think is, I think it's got to be the GoldenEye duo. I love GoldenEye. I'd love to rewatch it. GoldenEye's one of those films that I thought was really modern and progressive when it came out because it was a reboot of Bond. And if you watch it now, like it's actually just as dated as Dinosaur. It's just interesting. Anyway,
Yeah.
cool.
You was here last night smooching with my brother.
Yeah.
You've been smooching with everybody.
No, what's he called? The guy who's in the room? Is he called Frank or something? Or Jeff? And then it's like
Yeah.
Jeff. And then the guy's like, no, I haven't.
Yeah, no, it's just
It
really
is good.
good
It's
fun.
very silly. And like people at the time as well got upset. It was so slapstick, apparently, compared to the first.
Oh,
like,
yeah, so, yeah, with the nails and
Go
stuff,
on.
it's like, bloink, like when he's pulling the nails out and stuff like I
think that makes it more acceptable to kids, to be honest, because there are points where I'm like, this is brutal, and then there's a silly noise, and I go, okay.
No, I completely, I don't know what the problem is with that. Macaulay Culkin was paid $4.5 million at the time, which was the biggest ever salary for a child star. And that was 45 times his salary for Home Alone, just 2 years
got
before.
some returns from the profits as well. He had like a share, a percentage of profits.
Good, and he deserved it because he is the franchise. I did see some behind the scenes about the pigeon attack as well. So obviously, towards the end, Harry and Marv get attacked by pigeons, and they actually had real birdseed on them and about 300 pigeons. And so
went in his mouth and stuff, though, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think that's vile. Like,
do you know? I watched the VHS. So I watched the VHS behind the scenes. So it was the VHS
Where did you
behind
watch
the scenes.
that?
It was on YouTube. Yeah, just on
fair
YouTube.
play.
So I watched that. It was it's like 22 minutes. It's I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not as in depth as like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo behind the scenes.
like
but it's
4 hours about Home Alone too.
Yeah, a lot of it's basically like cut into like fans being like, "What's your favourite part?" And there's English kids being like, "Oh, I like it when he slips over," like shit like that. Like so, it's like
I like I like
bottle
when the
of water.
electricity's on screen. Yeah,
like stuff like that. But
Jeez.
but yeah. So I do think the weakest part of the film is the pigeon lady. Sadly,
I'm quite glad that's not just me. And like,
I don't think she's a great actor. And
she has a cracking location though. She's right above some. It's not an opera house, like a.
It is. It's like an orchestra, like a theatre kind of.
Yeah, lovely hall. She said,
yeah.
I've seen all the such and such and whatever.
They have a really like nice moment and stuff, but her story's a bit far fetched, maybe.
And he runs
for
back
me.
to her at the end for the Christmas thing, so he's got the whole scene that he has with the old man at the end of the first film, and I just wasn't as bothered. In the first film, like that gets to me. The first one. I don't know. I think look, it is what it is. I'm glad it exists. Let's be clear. I'm absolutely glad it exists. I think it has.
What do you mean you're glad it exists? It needs.
In terms of it's like
perfect.
as in sequel wise. I'm glad it exists as a sequel. But
it's one of the best sequels ever made.
I would rather rewatch the first one every single time personally, because I think it's just it hits more of the. I think it sounds mad to say it hits more of the festive beats as well, and like the family and the emotiveness of it. There's more of like upset and concern for Kevin. This one, they're almost not as bothered. They're literally like, like he's all right. He's like, they're literally like, he's done this before. It's pretty much an acceptance of he's all right. Like, don't worry about it too much. And I think what got the heartstrings to the first one is like he is super capable, but they don't know he's capable. So there's more to root for. There's more danger. Whereas in this one, I don't know. I'm really overanalyzing. It's Home Alone. Like, it's good fun.
I
Just
mean,
enjoy
I think.
it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Just stop that.
Get a grip.
No, I think that there's enough like just. Although, regardless of what it is, that's why, because you could argue that like really we're in a Star Wars: A New Hope and The Force Awakens situation. You know, like it's very much a retread. However, the reason why Home Alone 2 I find just more palatable and acceptable is because it is a comedy. So. When the jokes are there and when all these funny moments, like it's just very, very enjoyable. It's not kind of, we know that's the same idea as the first, but they've got this new little riff on it, like, and it's just dead funny. Like, he's ordered himself a cheese pizza again in the limo, and he's watching The Grinch again. But then with like he does the bit where he's like. It's exactly the same scene in the supermarket in the first one where he's like, "Where's your mom?" He's like, "She's in the car." "And where's your dad?" "He's at work." He's like, "Lady, do you think I'm 8 years old? Do you think I'd be here in my house?" The same thing happens with
the first one in the supermarket buying the Pop-Tarts, whatever it is.
And this the same thing happens in this one when he's trying to sort out the credit card. He's like, "My dad's in a meeting." Like he's like, "Lady, do you think I'd be allowed here on my own?" Like it's enough of a change, and it's delivered with such a, I don't know, just fun way that like I think this one is funnier than the first. The writing is better.
Say this. So yeah, people say it's funnier, and I think maybe it is actually. But I think what I like about the first one is the mix of the slight family melodrama, whatever you want to call it, and the comedy. But look, they're both great, and as I said, I'm glad they both exist. And then I want to get onto this question from Pat because I think it's funny. He said, and you need to answer to this because you've seen all of them. I've seen the VHS covers and refused to go near it. So it says, why has this, like so many franchises, had pretty severe diminishing returns? Could it be rebooted again in the right hands? So in my mind, it has just been rebooted like a year ago, wasn't it?
Home Sweet Home Alone. Now, may I say that I am this is going to be a shock to everyone, really. I love Home Alone so much, and I refuse to acknowledge any of the other ones. However, I watched Home Sweet Home Alone around my brother's house with his kids, and I actually found it all right. Like, it's got buzz in it, like, and people are like, people despise this film, like, and they give it it's at a 1.4 on Letterboxd.
Wow.
Yeah, like absolutely despise it. And I actually think that maybe that they're because my expectations were so rock bottom that I was just like, well, I'm just like it's on in the background, and I was like, do you know what? Like the little young lad, Archie Yates, is actually pretty funny, man. Like he's quite charming and pretty funny. And I actually thought it's all right, but just kind of it's better than half the like Christmas bullshit you get out there. So I actually think it's all right. The only other ones I've seen is Home Alone 3, which I didn't really like. So I think Home Alone 3 is not very good. But again, lots of people think that it's fine. Well, I think it's fine. When I say fine, like 2 stars, but for me, Home Alone 1, Home Alone 2, that's it. That we don't need to speak about anymore.
It says Home Sweet Home Alone won an award.
Did it? Yeah, like Razzie.
1 win. Mill Valley Film Festival. Okay, variety screen.
I think I've won an award at the Mill Valley Film Festival. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, I think that as we've said, Patch. So we've said. I think you. Do you know what, John? I think you'd think it was all right. I think you'd quite enjoy it.
I can't believe how many there are. There's like Home Alone 3, Home Alone 4, Taking Back the House, Home Alone: The Holiday Heist. Like, jeez, some of those are straight to video. Home Alone 9.
Well,
that's not
no, there's not. Like Patch said though, like Diminishing Returns, we've already acknowledged here that actually a third one with Macaulay Culkin would probably be wearing thin unless they come up with something different. With the
that's why the jump to him being a teenager I thought would have been interesting, because it would have been less like I don't know.
So when Macaulay Culkin did that thing with Google like two or 3 years ago,
yes,
someone basically tweeted at him say like, let's just get like Macaulay Culkin
together.
Let's just get him to redo the first one exactly the same, but no one acknowledges that he's a 40-year-old man. And Macaulay Culkin responded saying, "Yeah, I'd definitely be up for that." I feel like I said that in the first episode, but yeah. So, I think the diminishing returns thing is the same as anything really. Like, too much of anything is a good thing. Too much of anything is a bad thing. Same goes for Terminator, except Dark Fate was all right, but that was after like 3 shite films. They've finally like got one that's like okay. Alien Romulus. I think actually Alien's got quite a decent level of quality in when we in the grand scheme of things.
Every sequel of Alien that people says is really bad is nowhere near as bad as most sequels that exist. I genuinely think like it's really interesting though. I went to go and buy the 4K for Romulus, and the reviews people left were really bad.
For the 4K,
for the film. Just for the film. Like, there's people who hate it, and I was quite surprised. But anyway, yeah.
The whole diminishing returns thing. It's just the same as it's a tale as old as time, isn't it? The MCU eventually like wore thin. It's just people have just had enough, and again, it's could it be rebooted again in the right hands? No, just leave it alone, because there's some things. It's like, do we need another Citizen Kane? Probably not. Well, I say probably not, definitely not, and I wouldn't know because I haven't seen it. So, but you know my sentiment. So I think that sometimes we just need new ideas. That'd be nice. The nowadays, as we've noticed, no one is pro-consumer anymore. Like that, like the thing I've noticed, like someone posted something on Netflix the other day where if you've got the entry-level package on Netflix with the adverts, you cannot watch certain films. And I'm like, okay, so it is cable. Like it is, you've got adverts and you also can't watch certain stuff. So it's like, I can't think of a company right now off the top of my head that is like pro-consumer, that is like, oh, we are doing this, we're here to make money, but we're also doing this because we really care about our customers. No, there is no company out there like that anymore, and there used to be loads of companies like that. And so now we're in a, like, I don't know why I've gotten to this, but I'm fuming about it. We're now in a society where it is just like, I know obviously capitalism is like rife, but we're not in a place where it's like, oh, we're really going to look after our customers first and our customers will look after us. No, just doesn't exist. We're just going to exploit your customers anyway. So that's why, because franchises don't give a shit. They care about, like,
look, they want an IP, which isn't it, like we've said this before,
that they can wring dry.
Yeah, but what I would say is, if you want to watch Home Alone 3, watch the Babysitter. That's got plenty of Home Alone elements. It's a horror version. Like, if you want to see what a teenage version of Home Alone would have been like for Home Alone 3, which was the initial plan, I would say the Babysitter is not a million miles removed.
Or genuinely, watch Home Sweet Home Alone. Yeah, watch Home Sweet Home Alone, but please remove yourself from the first 2 Home Alones, because that's what I did, and I actually was like, it's actually an all right Christmas film. Actually, like I'm not comparing it to Macaulay Culkin because it's a far cry.
Do you know what though? The film like that's shafted, because if it wasn't called Home Alone, Home Sweet Home Alone, right? People would say, oh, it's a rip off of Home Alone. But then if you call it Home Alone, it's compared to the first 2 with Kieran Culkin and I gave Home Sweet Home Alone 3 stars.
Yeah, like it's absolutely serviceable. It's fine. I had a decent time with it, and a lot of other people were. It's got Rob Delaney in it as well, who's pretty funny. So that's kind of, man. And Keenan Thompson, obviously Keenan from Keenan and Kel.
I do.
Who put the screw in the tuna? It's so good.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. We love Home Alone. It's a 5-star banger for me, one of the very rare ones. And I think John Hughes, again, I miss him so much.
And a much more uplifting Christmas film than The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which was last week's watch.
Bloody hell, yeah. Bloody hell. Anyway, John, by the time this releases, you're going to be on holiday when this releases. You might be, sorry, allegedly. You might be on holiday when this releases.
Will I, won't I?
Will I? Who knows? Someone might be.
Don't know, it depends when you release, actually.
But yeah, enjoy that. I'm pretty jealous. So yeah, enjoy it, and I will. I think my internet's gone off. Well, we have to wrap this up because I'm currently hotspotting off my phone after a strange tethering off my phone, because I don't know what's going on with my internet, so that's not good. So anyway, as always, look, you can find us with our brand new t-shirts on MoviesinaPodshell.sumupstore.com. They're only £18. If you buy one now, we can ship it, and it will be just in time for Christmas, for a little Christmas present for someone. So we can definitely do that for you. You can also find us on Amazon Music. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Music. Just find us by searching Movies in a Podshell. Give us 5 stars. We only accept 5 stars. And you can also find us on YouTube. All one word, Tony. You can find us on YouTube when John uploads it, but he hasn't for last week, so that'll be me again. Look, yeah, he's looking because he knows he's not done his job properly. I hope you don't treat your clients like this.
That's why you get the poorest treatment, mate.
Yeah, because they're paying him. So yeah, it genuinely helps us if you could click the thumbs up, subscribe to us. It really helps us out. So yeah, we thought we'd get this out just before Christmas. John, enjoy your holiday if you are there. This will be releasing sometime
after that.
Yeah, way
pretty
after
much.
that.
That's fine.
So yeah, pretty much. But
thanks.
Lovely, John. Thanks. This has been a nice little quick podcast. Well, I say quick. How long are we running?
Well, before Insect died, I reckon it was an hour and 10, something like that. But all good. And then when we're back,
People will love that.
we need to have a chat about what we're going to do next. But I am up for an old Hitchcock soon. It's been a while. I think an old Hitchcock and a modern thing. We'll sort it out.
Yeah, it's time. John, it's been a pleasure. Say goodbye.
Have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
Oh, have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
And
Hope
a
you watch
Happy
some
New
lovely
Year.
films. Yeah, filthy animals. See ya.